Ever pondered on what happens to your body during starvation? It's a question that might sound morbid, but it's an intriguing one nonetheless. And for anyone interested in survivalism, it's a crucial one too. Understanding the biological processes that take place when food is scarce, when your body is pushed to its limits, is not just fascinating, it's vital. It's about knowing your body, its strengths, and its vulnerabilities. Today you are unraveling the mystery of what occurs within our bodies during starvation. Imagine skipping your breakfast and lunch. It's around 6 hours since your last meal. What's happening inside your body at this point? Let's delve into it. During the first 6 hours of starvation, your body begins to rely on its stored glucose, a type of sugar that's the body's primary source of energy. The last meal you had, remember that? It was broken down into glucose and other nutrients which were then distributed to your cells. However, now that there's no incoming food, your body must tap into its glucose reserves to keep everything running smoothly. This glucose is stored in your liver and muscles in the form of glycogen, a readily accessible energy source. Think of glycogen as your body's on-demand fuel tank. When you need energy, your body can quickly convert glycogen back into glucose. So, during the first few hours of starvation, your body is primarily burning through these glycogen stores. But here's the catch. The glycogen reserves are limited. They can only keep you going for so long, typically around 6 hours for most people. As these reserves start to dwindle, your body has to switch gears and find an alternative energy source. So, in the first 6 hours, your body is still operating smoothly, utilizing its glucose reserves. But as we move past this initial phase, things start to get a bit more complicated, as we'll see in the next scene. Now it's been 24 hours since your last meal. Your body begins to enter a state known as glycogenolysis. This is a fascinating process where your body starts breaking down glycogen, a form of glucose stored in your liver and muscles, into a substance your body can use for energy. Imagine glycogen as your body's emergency fuel reserve, stored away for times of need. And now, at the 24-hour mark, your body is tapping into this reserve. In the first few hours of fasting, your body relied primarily on glucose for energy. This glucose came from the food you ate, which your body broke down into simple sugars and stored in your bloodstream. But after a while, these glucose stores run dry. You can think of it like a car running out of gas. Your body needs a new fuel source, and that's where glycogen comes into play. During glycogenolysis, enzymes in your body work to break down glycogen into glucose. This glucose then enters your bloodstream, providing your body with the energy it needs to function. It's like your body has a built-in backup generator, ready to kick into gear when your primary energy source runs out. But what happens when the glycogen stores run low? Well, your body is a remarkable machine. It doesn't just shut down when it runs out of glycogen, instead it begins to break down fat for energy. This is a process known as lipolysis. When there's no more glycogen to convert into glucose, your body starts to break down fat cells to produce an alternative fuel source known as ketones. The shift from using glucose to using fat for energy is a significant metabolic change, and it's why many people experience a sense of clarity and increased energy after fasting for 24 hours. Your body is now running on a different, cleaner kind of fuel. When the clock hits 24 hours, your body is in full survival mode, starting to use up stored fats. It's a remarkable testament to human resilience and adaptability. It's your body saying, "We got this. We can keep going." And that, my friends, is the power of survival. Fast forward to a couple of days without food. Here enters a process known as ketosis. This is where your body, in its remarkable resilience, begins to shift gears. It's like your body's very own survival mode, where instead of relying on glucose for energy, it starts to produce ketones. Now you may be wondering, what on earth are ketones? Well, they're organic compounds that your liver produces when your body doesn't have enough glucose for fuel. It starts breaking down fat, both dietary and stored, into these ketones. These little molecules then become the body's new source of energy. This shift isn't immediate. It takes a while for your body to adapt to this new fuel source. That's why, during the first few days of fasting or starvation, you might feel sluggish, dizzy, or even nauseous. This is often referred to as the keto flu. But don't worry, it's not an actual illness, it's just your body adjusting to its new energy source. Now here's where things get interesting. While your body is running on ketones, your brain, which is typically a big consumer of glucose, also starts using these ketones for fuel. This is quite significant because it's one of the few times when your brain will use something other than glucose for energy. Some studies suggest that this switch can actually enhance cognitive function, improving focus and mental clarity. However, it's important to note that long-term ketosis, especially due to starvation, can have adverse health effects. While it initially helps the body to survive, it can lead to muscle loss and weakening of the immune system over time. So to put it all together, your body is an incredible machine, capable of adapting to various circumstances. It's designed to survive, and that's exactly what it does when food is scarce. It takes the resources it has, in this case fat, and turns it into usable energy in the form of ketones. So after a few days of no food, your body becomes a fat-burning machine relying on ketones for fuel. It's a fascinating process that attests to the incredible adaptability of the human body. But what happens when starvation extends over weeks or even months? When the body is subjected to a prolonged period of severe food deprivation, it begins to consume its own tissues to survive. This process, known as autophagy, is an extreme last resort, and it's not pretty. As the body's energy stores deplete, the body starts breaking down muscle tissue for fuel. This muscle loss isn't just about biceps and abs, it's also the heart muscles and other vital organs. The body is literally eating itself from the inside out. A weakened immune system is another long-term effect of starvation. As the body's nutrient reserves dwindle, the immune system's ability to fend off infections and diseases diminishes. A person suffering from prolonged starvation becomes susceptible to illnesses that a healthy person could easily fight off. Simple colds can turn into serious respiratory infections, and minor wounds can lead to life-threatening infections. As starvation persists, organ failure becomes a grim reality. The heart, being a muscle, is particularly vulnerable. It shrinks and weakens, leading to irregular heart rhythms and potentially heart failure. The kidneys, too, begin to fail as they're no longer able to filter toxins from the blood efficiently. But the brain is perhaps the organ most affected by starvation. Without a steady supply of glucose, the brain's primary fuel cognitive function begins to falter. Memory loss, confusion, and hallucinations become common. Over time, permanent brain damage can occur, impacting a person's ability to think, learn, and remember. The longer the body is deprived of essential nutrients, the closer it edges towards death. The process is slow, agonizing, and ultimately, a battle the body cannot win. Starvation forces the body into a desperate survival mode, but even the most resilient system has its limits. As we've seen, the effects of prolonged starvation are devastating. The body, in its remarkable resilience, will do everything it can to survive, but it pays a high price. In the long run, starvation is a deadly process, breaking down the body's vital functions. So, what have we learned about our bodies during starvation? Throughout this journey, we've unveiled the intricate dance our bodies perform when faced with starvation. From the first 6 hours, where our bodies tap into our glucose reserves, to the next 18 hours, where fats become the fuel, our bodies are truly adaptable machines. In the initial hours of starvation, glucose is the star of the show. It's our body's preferred source of energy, and our liver and muscles store it as glycogen for quick use. However, these reserves only last for a short while. As we move into the next 18 hours, our bodies switch gears. The liver begins to convert fats into ketones, an alternative source of fuel. This is the state of ketosis, a term many of you may recognize from the popular ketogenic diet. This process is a testament to our body's adaptability, but it's not without its drawbacks. Beyond a day, things start to get a bit more serious. Our bodies, now running low on fats, turn to the only source of energy left, proteins. And this is where the long-term effects of starvation come into play. Our bodies start breaking down muscles and other tissues for energy. This can lead to severe muscle loss and a weakened immune system, among other things. For survivalists, understanding this process is essential. It's not just about knowing what happens when the food runs out. It's about understanding our bodies, about knowing how to make the most of what we have, and about learning how to sustain ourselves in the most challenging circumstances. In conclusion, our bodies are remarkable machines, capable of adapting to extreme conditions. However, the process of starvation is a harsh reminder of our physiological limits and the importance of proper nourishment. Remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to understanding our bodies. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.